it has acclimatized to the European climate, it has acclimatized to the tropical climate, it has acclimatized to the temperate climate. It's a very versatile plant. So the plant is cannabis. One plant. Its uses, yes, that is where people have made that definition. So the plant is a cannabis plant. Its uses depend on the composition and concentration of certain compounds in there. They call them cannabinoids. So the one that is called medicinal, whether from leaves or from roots, from stems and from the flower buds, they will largely have higher concentration of this cannabinoid, which is called tetracannabinoid or THC, and maybe a lower concentration of the others. Now, the one that is called industrial, or which is designated as industrial, will usually have a lower concentration of THC based on the jurisdictions. So some jurisdictions, particularly in Europe and America, they would want to peg that THC to no more than 0.3%. In Malawi, our legislation with our lobbying, we put it at 1%, simply because our climate is very rich. And for you to bring down that THC in a plant, you have to spend a lot in order to bring it down. So you people are agriculturists or natural resource experts, etc. We are in the tropics. The spectrum from the sun is so strong for the nutrients or for all components in the plant to come out. So that is why even the THC will get towards its higher concentration, and so too with all other compounds in the plant. That's it for the definition. Yeah, so it's a plant that you can grow outfield like maize, like soya, like beans, but you can also grow it in-house. And you can also grow it under greenhouses. One of the things, since we are talking about an agriculture institution, in terms of how the plant look, because it's cannabis, probably a lay person will not distinguish just by looking at the plant in terms of what, whether this is a high THC or a low THC, but we ourselves, with the experience that we have, we can tell this whether this variety is high THC or low THC. But in terms of the other things that people look at in order to make sure that you have a proper germplasm or a proper seed, you look at what yield will it give you, what flower sizes will it give you, what resin production will it have, how does it resist pests and diseases, how high or how small is the plant, how sweet is the smell or the taste and things like those. So today you are lucky that we'll have some products. For those of you on this hall, if you are willing, you will be given an opportunity of first refusal to taste, smell, feel, touch our products. Because a cannabis plant is such unique. When you look at it and do the analysis, and the analysis have been done by researchers across the world, it's a plant that is a multi-purpose use. As of 2020, researchers and scientists have found out that it has close to 1,000 compounds And some of the most interesting ones are the cannabinoids, the terpenes, are the ones that give you the perfume, the smell, okay? The flavonoids and all those, they have their use for mankind. But what we are more familiar with is that use. That is what gave cannabis the notoriety around the world. People didn't like cannabis because they thought everybody was going to look like that. And indeed, the lobby worked. And there were measures to restrict and even ban cannabis in many jurisdictions. So systems were used, the United Nations systems and individual countries did a lot in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s to try to make sure that cannabis is taken out of circulation. But nature has its own way. So cannabis is bouncing back more recently, not for the use that you are seeing in the picture, but many more other uses. We'll look at that. So what was so strange about this cannabis? We've noted that it has about 1,000 compounds. And we've also noted that there is only one out of the 200 and something cannabinoids, there is only one, and that one is the THC. To use it in a simpler language, the THC is just the high concentration of alcohol. So you would equate the THC in cannabis to something like a gin or a whiskey. What's the fuss about that? All over the world, you have all these liquor shops selling all these expensive gins and things like those, whiskeys. Some of them are 100-year-olds, others are 200-year-old. So what was the whole fuss about it? Well, the whole fuss about it is because this was business. Cannabis was competing with some of the products that were made by big players who were good at lobbying with politicians and society, and they managed to lobby cannabis out of the market. So, between the two, are they chemically different? Maybe not, because they have the exact molecular formula. 21 atoms of carbon, 30 atoms of hydrogen, and 2 of oxygen. Even their molecular mass, so close. But the other compound, which is the CBD, doesn't give you that psychoactive aspect. But it's still useful in the body. So let me explain, what do cannabinoids do to the body of a person? Cannabinoids are some of the compounds that are useful to the human body because they interact with your endocannabinoidal system for your body metabolism. So your body does make some cannabinoids, but we don't know that even bodies falter and fail, and they may not produce enough. So your endocannabinoidal system will degrade in the body. What does the endocannabinoidal system do to your body? It controls how you react to pain, how you react to anxiety, how you laugh, how you smile. It controls all those elements. So just imagine if that system falters, what would happen to you? You would get annoyed from nowhere. You would get stressed from nowhere. So you don't want your body to get flat like a flat battery. But if a battery is flat, you can recharge it. You get it to the battery charger and boost it. So similarly, once you do that with the cannabinoids that are in cannabis, they will interact with your body, recharge your system, improve your metabolism, and make you great again. So that is the whole science of it explained in a few seconds. So cannabis is not necessarily a bad plant. It's not necessarily a sin plant. No, it isn't. It's actually good for humans. Well, let's go to the bit of science a little bit since we are dealing with the academic institutions. Yes, both of them, the THC and CBD, both of them have the same molecular formula, but the way the chemical structure of those are arranged differently. So if you run this in a high resolution microscope, CBD and THC, if you run it through a high resolution microscope, you would get that kind of structure. So that's where the difference is, how the chemical structure of those carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen are arranged in THC and CBD. And because of that arrangement, your THC will indeed be psychoactive. Do I need to tell you how it looks to be psychoactive? No, try it. Just try it. For you. You don't need an explanation from somebody. Just try it, and then once you have tried it, at least you have first-hand experience how it is to have. Have you ever gotten drunk? If you haven't tried, this is your only time at this age. Yeah, but the issue that is more interesting to us is not really the smoking, but a good understanding of what this plant does. So, the whole of the plant is useful, dear friends, dear colleagues. The whole of the plant is useful, from roots to the stem, to the leaves, to the flowers, to the seed. It is useful. Not just useful, people are making money out of it. Not just making money out of it, they are getting rich. So, since the plant has been around for 4,000 years, I'm sure you cannot run out of uses for it. At the moment, people are estimating that you can make probably close to 30,000 or 40,000 of products out of cannabis. Can you imagine if those products, only 5 were made by Bunda students or Bunda graduate students or Luana graduates? What difference it would make to this area? What difference it would make to Lilongwe? What difference it would make to Malawi? It would have huge impact. So, let's unpack some of those. You can see that the plant, the flowers, you can get some things extracted out of the flower, and from those extracts, you can get medicinal items as well as normal items that you can use in your body. From the grain, you can shell it and have shelled hemp seed, as I'm showing you now. From the stalk, our aquaponics colleagues have been to our facility and office and factory, and one of our offices is made out of hemp. Hemp stalks, we crush them, use the binder, and we have our office. Now it's 3 years standing, no problem, nothing. Other products, we have them here. You can make these block boards and ceiling boards from hemp stalks. From the same hemp, the textile line. Can you imagine a nice hemp shirt? So this is not theory. This is real practical. How is it made into a shirt? How can you turn cannabis into a shirt? Once you peel off the fiber from the stalk, you treat the fiber, run it into yarn and spin it, and then you have fabric. And this is how this hemp fabric was made, and the rest is just now value adding on it. Let's see what others have done out there in terms of addressing the human needs on a daily basis. We like keeping our bodies nice. So, we have hemp hydrating oil. This is from South Africa, not from us. I'm just showing you what others are doing there because they are making money out of it. Don't you use it on your bodies? You all know Colgate. Now they have started making Colgate with additions of cannabis in it. Doesn't it look nice? And then there are all types of lotions and shampoos, all from hemp. I'm sure we are using shampoos all over. So the opportunities are enormous, and this is just one plant, cannabis. You don't have to farm 20, it's just farming cannabis. If Lilongwe just went into cannabis and used it, then Lilongwe would just do very, very fine. So, we would see a lot of hemp seed expelling around if that happened. We would see a lot of hemp seed deshelling. We would see a lot of protein from hemp. We would see hemp cake because after crushing the seed, you are remaining with the cake, which can be used as feed for livestock, for poultry and fish. The beauty is that we already started these initiatives. There was a student from the Department of Animal Husbandry Industries. She was doing her master's here. I don't know how she has performed, but she told us that the initial analysis were very good and promising. So we hope that once she finishes she can share with us the findings from her research. On fish, GIZ is quite instrumental in promoting aquaculture in Malawi. They also took our hemp cake, trialed it. It worked fine, comparable with other fish feed, and we think it will make sense not to miss hemp in this equation as feed for animals, feed for fish, and food for people. Well, you can have so many little industries happening even at small scale level, even at student level. So don't wait until you are an old person like me to get into being a hemp entrepreneur. Start now, and time is now. Of course, politicians will tell you that you are leaders of tomorrow, but I'm telling you, you should be leaders of now so that you can practice. If you fail now, you can improve and be a good leader tomorrow. So practice now. Entrepreneurship time is now. So what sort of potential are we seeing out there? We are seeing that the hemp flower is in itself consumed as it is. So like here we have some hemp flower that we do send to the markets, and I'm sure you guys can see the hemp flower, but don't pinch it. Don't pinch the hemp flower, but you can open the bag, smell it, and give us feedback on how it is. And we are saying that we shouldn't just be looking at the domestic market. The regional market is also good. Imagine if 300 million people in SADC bought a hemp item of $10 a month. That's $30 million. That could come to Malawi, or that could come to a company. So the market, even in the region, is there. But internationally, hemp is traded heavily. So that is where the attraction is, and that is where the competition is, because there's huge money there. So a couple of years ago, hemp was only $5 billion worth of business. But that is going to be a business of $20 billion. Can you imagine if Malawi just took a small slice of that $20 billion, where it would place us? Would we have foreign exchange problems? This is just industrial side. But listen to the story of the medicinal one. It was only about $7 billion business a couple of years ago. Looking ahead, it will be a $60 billion business. So can you imagine if you as a small entrepreneur just had your small pie in there? And the other interesting thing is that the countries that are transacting in this cannabis business are increasing over the past 20 years. From just a few 50, now you have about 80 countries transacting in cannabis. So, you don't need to be a financial guru to understand that there is money to be made in cannabis, providing you do it right. So what does it take to do it right? You have to have everything else developed, constructed, managed according to the best practices there are, and certified. Because buyers in Europe don't even know there is Nerbert in Malawi. All they are looking for is, have you produced your cannabis in a facility that is acceptable by European standards? Have you produced your cannabis with people who are qualified and competent to do it? Have you produced it hygienically, and is it safe? So all that, you need a lot of certifications from third-party labs that are accredited internationally, so that once they do their certificate of analysis, they will say, yes, we can confirm Invegrow are doing or are cultivating, processing, distributing according to the best practices there are in this trade. Therefore, we can vouch for the quality of their product, but also the hygiene of their product. So they will need certifications for good agricultural practices, but at the same time, they will also need certifications for good manufacturing practices and good management practices. Looking at the prices that are contributing to those billions of dollars that I was talking about, you can see that if you add more value to these products, you fetch a better price. Yes, prices are declining because of the world recession, etc., but this is just giving you a snapshot of the range of things that are extracted, manufactured properly. You will see a range of prices from maybe $1,000 per kilo to about $10,000 per kilo. The ones that are, well, maybe just semi-processed with a little value added, high-end flowers are in the region of maybe $200 per kilo to maybe about $800, $900 per kilo. The cheaper ones are the grains and the stocks, whose values are probably maybe $1 or $1 to $3 per kilo. So these are just basic commodities. I know I was given 30 minutes, but this is a lot. So cannabis is something that we have already started on. The journey has already started. The law is there. The regulatory mechanisms are there. The institution that is regulate cannabis has been established, but maybe not fully working on the things that are needed in order to make this jump start effective. But the institutions are there. Now, where does that require us to join hands? Because we are talking about a business, it has risks, it has constraints, it has challenges. So we as a country need to understand and unlock those challenges and say, okay, what are the constraints that small-scale producers would face if they were to get engaged in cannabis? What are the constraints that the large-scale producers would face? And then try to prioritize actions in terms of removing the bottlenecks around those constraints. And from there, you have a business case for the country, a business case for the value chain. Yeah, so in agriculture, like ourselves, we had an experience with farmer-producer groups, starting with the land itself. We found that their lands were too depleted for nutrition. Doing the soil analysis, even the precursory ones with an EC meter, go on the soil, you find the soil is dead. Get it into the lab, you find that there are no nutrients left in the soil except highly acidic. So you guys are in crop science or natural resources. You know that some crops will not do well when the soils are acidic, particularly cannabis. Nitrogen will not be absorbed by cannabis in an acidic environment. So even if you put your fertilizer there, you are just wasting it. And because people are living in rural areas, they will think that their uncle did something to their garden. Why is their garden not having green crops while the next one is having green crops? So we went to a lot of educating and advising people to use the traditional methods of soil remediation. A bit of manure, a bit of compost, mulching, and things like those. So that kind of extension is one of the challenges that we saw, that even their land was not productive, was not set up to be productive. It needs to be revived, it needs to be rejuvenated, it needs to be mediated. The second thing was the people themselves. They're not thinking business. They are growing crops as social growers, but this is business. So we need to retool and re-engineer our growing community to think of any kind of farming as business. And that mind change doesn't come cheap and doesn't come easily. Just like here, most of us, I have a kid who is in college as well. All he wants is his school fees and his pocket money. But if it was in Europe, that was going to be a loan, not a grant from the father. They take it as a loan and you have to pay back after you have finished your education. That's how it is. So investing in themselves, people don't think they need to invest in themselves. So they wait until the government trains extension officers, until some NGO pumps in money for that, and once that goes, then it's gone. The other things are normal things. In business, you need money. Do we have enough resources, etc.? So once you look at all the risks in terms of the environmental risks, the agricultural and the climate risks, the personnel risk or human resource risk or farmer risks, and then the economic and the market risks, they are there. I can share with you one. We're trying to export our products to Europe. And then boom, Ethiopia says you cannot root cannabis in our jurisdiction. So we can't send products out. We try Emirates. Emirates say, yeah, we are an Islamic country. So what you are bringing here is haram. We'll allow it to pass through though, but you will have to have an escort charge. So from the time it's leaving the freighter from Malawi up to where they're keeping it for unacceptable items in their jurisdiction, you have to pay a waiting charge or an escort charge, which is not cheap. Something like maybe close to $150, $200 an hour. And usually freighters arrive, or most aircrafts arrive in Dubai in the mornings, so, and leave for Europe in the evening. So you can imagine maybe 8 hours of waiting or 10 hours of waiting is a lot of money. Even before the customer gets hold of the items, you have already coughed $2,000 or $4,000. So those are some of the experiences that those are some of the experiences that are very startling. The legislative risks. Yes, the law is there, but can you imagine how can smallholder farmers, even if they're in a group, raise 2 million just to grow an agricultural crop? If you were to grow soya, you raise 2 million to pay for a license, even before you buy inputs, even before you pay for the workers, you already have coughed 2 million. That is a bit too hard. So those regulatory risks needs to be sorted out in order to ensure that we have paved way for a smooth takeoff of this industry. I've just highlighted a few things so that you guys can understand what it takes in order to do a complete feasibility of being a hemp company at whatever stage of value addition, so that you can understand the market is important, the market determines what it's supposed to take, and you have to follow what the market is saying and do it according to what the market is doing. So that is the prime aspect in terms of making sure that our roadmap is clear and we are all reading on the same page and rowing in the same direction with the same effort and energy. Yeah, definitely cannabis, me being a good proponent of cannabis, of course I don't smoke cannabis, but sometimes I taste it to see how it tastes. So it's not something that I do as routine, but because I have to know what I'm sending my clients, I have to test it. So it's good for everybody. Health-wise, food-wise, financial-wise, political-wise, it's good for everybody. Otherwise, if it wasn't for good, our own version of Malawi gold would have been uprooted and destroyed long ago. And we know people are growing it. We know people are transporting it. We know people are exporting it. But Invegro is not in that category of business. Invegro is in a different kind of business, which is legal, above board, etc. So that is the strength of us. It's good that the government, particularly the Ministry of Agriculture, is engaging development partners to assist in various aspects of supporting this hemp. Just yesterday, there was a validation study of the hemp value chain in Malawi, supported by the Irish aid. So that is a good development. But we need something more concerted in terms of practical things, not just studies ending as studies on a bookshelf, but practical things that can help us, can help the farmers, can help the industry players really move and leapfrog to the next level. So it is also important to explore these bilateral interests. Malawi is sandwiched between countries. If we cannot get the support of the neighboring countries, we want to get our product out to the international market. So that is very important for us to make headway. I thought I could stop here with the justification that, yes, it is feasible to get hemp processed, exported in Malawi. We are a case in point as Invegro Limited, one of the companies. We want more players into it at various levels of the value chain. Opportunities are massive. It's not just cultivating. It's all sorts of things that value chain players can be involved in. There's transportation, there is service provision for all sorts of services in order to get the activities going. There is the technical aspect of understanding the hemp and be a service provider like ourselves. It has taken us about 10 years and we have the expertise, knowledge, experience, competences. So we are able to advise those that come to us. But it won't be free. People will have to pay because we paid for it in one way or the other. Invegro has so far invested close to $5 million. Probably we will only manage to send out some things for export this year because after we got the license in 2021, we quickly observed that international certification will be a problem and will be an issue. So we had to reset and to work on all those certifications so that our products don't meet all those certification hurdles in the international marketplace. So with this, I think my 30 minutes is done, and let me end with that picture. So that picture is our facility where we are doing our cultivation. It has about 23 greenhouses, but a site of about 31 hectares, so we can produce outdoor cannabis and also we can produce indoor cannabis. Our facility can produce probably 7 tons a year of dried flower. And yeah, dried flower. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. So for those of us who are inside here, there will be some products that I'll open them up. You can test, give us your insights, give us your feedback if you like them. But the ones that we were given before, they are not for testing. But the ones that I'll give now, you can open and test. So you are not forced, but this is the only time you can have something for free, testing for free. But you won't get high.
Thank you very much. Nerbert Nyirenda. Very big eye-opener, very comprehensive, very detailed. Definitely the misconceptions should be gone by now. And the announcement is also good that to be able to test. He didn't talk about smoking, but he said he would be able to test some of the products, cannabis. His presentation actually highlighted very, very key areas, very important. More than 1,000 products from cannabis. In summary, it says very, very good for humans. Health-wise, all aspects of mankind, this cannabis, more than 1,000 compounds. He also defined or provided the difference between industrial hemp and medicinal hemp based on what he called THC and CBD. The value chains, we heard clearly, the industrial one, they can make more than $20 billion. The medicine one, projections show that it can earn annually more than $60 billion. Of course, he highlighted also challenges, issues that are there. One of them, legislative issues that we need to overcome. But he has also provided strategies to overcome the challenges. So while we're having a look at the products, our viewers online, I think Yamikan will be able to probably compile questions that may come online. But now we are opening for us so that if there are areas that we want the expert to provide more clarifications, this is now our time. Or areas that we may want to ask about cannabis. We'll take maybe a round of maybe questions from 4 people, and then we'll also see those that are coming online, and then we'll give a chance to our expert, Nerbert Nyirenda, to respond. I see a hand from Dr. Colio. After her, then when you stand, introduce your name, and then put a question. Let us try to be as brief as possible and straight to the point. Okay, if you are going to Zomba, you don't start going to Nzuzu. Go straight to your route. Okay, so we'll pick 4. First, Madam Kolio Kandawile, then you, then there, and then yes, and then our brother, Rasta, and then at the back, in that order.
Right, thank you, the coordinator. Thank you, Mr. Nyirenda, for your presentation, a good presentation. I can call it also an eye-opener. Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Koliwe Mkandawiri, and I'm the head of department from Veterinary Clinical Studies, and also a deputy dean at the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine. So I am a veterinary surgeon, but I'm also a pharmacist. As a result, I teach veterinary pharmacology. So your subject is very much of interest to me because I look after animals as well as people, right? Well, my question is, you have come maybe to motivate our students, ourselves, people like me, so that we can get interested in doing these things. Or even the students as to become entrepreneurs, as farmers as well. Me and my interest is how Malawian animals can be fed, right, with this kind of nutrition you're talking about. As well as the pharmacist, being a pharmacist, how the skin can grow well, how the health of the people in Malawi can improve using the very same products which you're producing. Now, by this amount of knowledge which you have given in a very short time, I have heard about this cannabis issue in Malawi for now maybe 3 years, and everybody else wants to go into it. And now I'm asking on behalf of myself, the students, as well as the people out there, and the people have complained bitterly. You need to support this question. You want people to go into the business, and yet for registration only, right, for registration only, and for them to be accepted to be part of the farmers, they pay things like 10 million. A lot of money. People are paying, and they don't see that there is progress in them to grow it. They get organized, they do everything you wanted them to do. I don't know whether it's you people or maybe it's government. You'll educate me on this. But people out there are crying. You want them to go into the business, and yet you are putting so many spanners, they're throwing in spanners, and they cannot do it. So you go up and come here, you want the students to get excited, and yet when they go out there, they cannot come with this business. Because maybe you just want to be yourself. Maybe you don't want others, but you are introducing this thing to a bigger grouping. A small group at Bowe I visited, they do produce oil and they do other things. And they were telling me they wanted to go into cannabis so that they can break away from this poverty cycle. And they said they spent 10 million just for registration, paperwork and everything, and nothing has happened. So they just gave up, and they lost that money. So where are these people who are taking people's money and they are not people are not getting into the business? And you are coming to tell us this. It's so painful. Me, I was excited because I wanted to do the medicinal companies right here in Malawi with Indian hemp. I was very excited as a raw material. I really need it. Right now, the pigs are dying with African swine fever. One of the good ingredients for pigs to stop dying from African swine fever is this product, cannabis. And when it was legalized, I would say, thank God. People are making secret concussions. We cannot openly do it because we thought it is illegal. Now you are coming with this legality. Pigs are still dying with African swine fever, and you are not allowing people to open up and grow it so that my farmers, pig farmers, where I belong to this big industry, pig farmers would change Malawi's landscape in economics. And I know, everybody knows that pig is an animal to go for Malawi to change. And any other developing country, you know, pig is the way to go. So I want to support a pig in Malawi with African swine fever. The vaccine has already been shot out. 100% vaccine was existing, but somewhere else somebody didn't like it. Somewhere else the vaccine was not approved. The only hope for African swine fever in Malawi, I see it, is cannabis as a veterinarian. As a veterinarian, I cry for African swine fever. And we can actually be a model country because our neighbors will come to us and buy this product when we produce it. A local farmer was producing it. No single pig died in his farm. So why can't we multiply it and do it? Or if you, Invagro, you can take it over. Take this young farmer, put him in Invagro, produce a lot of that product, and then make the pigs stop drying, and let us go for pig as an industry, and let us finish the poverty in Malawi when we have done that. Pig industry needs you, Invagro. And then the medicinal part of it is all these many farmers waiting to get into the business, but you are stopping them because registration issues are too tough. Thank you very much.
Next there was a hand this side. Please be brief. And once you highlight your issue, you don't need to repeat it over and over. It will be very clear. We are all recording your issue.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you. I'm Council Captain Sawali, Malawi Defense Force. I have a question with regards to institutions such as the Malawi Defense Force. How can we go about with registration and licensing for purposes of commercializing cannabis? Secondly, is the registration and licensing fee for institutions intending to cultivate cannabis on a large scale the same as the fee for small-scale farmers? My last question is the license itself for the industrial hemp and medicinal hemp, are they different or it's just one license?
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. And next.
My name is Shadrach Masinja, doing agribusiness management, 4th year. I have a question on first, you said that in the first place you were working hand in hand with the government on the legal issues. So could you just highlight on whether you advised the government on the issue of the license fee? Because for your own information, I'm doing research on the same topic, adoption of industrial hemp by tobacco farmers. So when I went to correct the data, it seems like many of tobacco farmers have that willing to adopt this cannabis crop, but the problem is issues of license fees. So I just want to know if you had a hand on that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And next one. Yes, this. Yeah, you quickly, and then we go. There was a Rastaman somewhere. Yes, and then the other one at the back.
All right, my question is on the THC concentration. Mm-hmm. There was mention during the presentation that the tropical climates, including Malawi and our soil types, makes the crop to have a high concentration of the THC. So do we have any information that is available concerning the areas and the soil types in our country that can support the plant while maintaining the optimal THC levels? Because as farmers are also contemplating into participating in growing the crop, at least some basic information, if it is there.
Okay, thank you. Rastaman, and then at the back.
My question is, as Envigro, as a legalized company for cannabis production, as we are youth, we know to fully be registered or to be commercial farmers, it's been a challenge. What measures does Envigro put in place to support young investors as us, or what are their goals to maximize their company in recruiting members as us, which we cannot afford to get a license to start this commercial business?
And then the last one.
All right, my name is Nixon Jingoni, studying horticulture, third year. Actually, my question is on the same, the policies that are on the ground. Like, do we really need a certificate for somebody like students like us at an institution like this to have a certificate to do a research project concerning marijuana? Thank you.
So we'll have another round, please don't worry, because the questions are quite many, and we need also to give our expert to respond. And the questions are in several categories. First, just to highlight that when we talk of regulating, this is in the mandate is by Malawi government, are the ones that actually make this law or an act, okay? Evergrow is a company which was authorized using the same Malawi government act. So it's our own act, okay? Of course, we will clarify, but this is our own act where our members of parliament actually drafted it, and the state president consented to it to become a law, okay? So there are issues that are within the mandate of Evergrow as a company operating and regulated by that act also, but you will still give him a room to respond. The others are also issues that, like what Dr. Nkandawile highlighted, the medicinal properties that farmers already know, especially African swine fever, that the best medicine is a product from cannabis. Most of the issues hinged on the license fee, and also just to clarify whether medicinal or industrial, they have different fees. And also what is good to note is farmers are very willing to go into this, but probably even in your presentation, you also indicated that there are huge legislative issues that may actually restrict entry into this sector. And there was also a question to do with THC, its correlation to agroecological zones. The observation there is that some areas with the relevant soils and climate induces high concentration of THC. They may need your comment. And others, just youth, how can we organize them either into groups or cooperatives? And then the last part was now asking on behalf of our institution, being a research center also, what type of clearance do we need to conduct research on cannabis? Thank you very much. I'm not sure if we also have a list from those online. Maybe we can handle them later, but for now, over to you, sir. I'm not sure whether you have the mic.
Yeah, thank you very much all for your questions. It shows that people are taking interest in cannabis and cannabis products. I will start from the concerns and maybe the issues raised by Dr. Koliwe. True, your sentiments are your sentiments, but I guess we are just one of the players that is regulated under the Act. And we are spearheads in a way. So yeah, you have expressed these concerns about maybe the high fees. It is true. Those who went to the value chain validation report meeting yesterday also expressed those feelings. But Invegro is not the regulator. Invegro is just one of the players regulated by the regulator. The issues about doing more research in terms of what cannabis can do to humans and the animals, we are right in the midst of academia here. We want to encourage the academia, public and private, to get into serious research, analyze things, and bring those results for people in government to make decisions. It was just the same like us. When we told them that we have low THC varieties of cannabis out there, they didn't believe us. So until we brought the low THC varieties seed in country, and we had to do trials, and they had to see, they had to prove, then they had empirical evidence to say, oh yeah, it is there. We can now go ahead to the next stage. Where can it grow? So maybe when I mentioned that, somebody asked to say, which agroeconomical zones are prone to high THC or not? THC is a compound. It will respond depending on how stressed the crop is or how good the spectrum is. So there are a number of factors that can trigger a THC to tilt towards the higher, but it will not jump from 1 to 20 in a plant that didn't have high THC. It may go from maybe 0.5 to 0.8% or 0.5 to 1%. Yeah, that would happen, but it won't jump significantly. So in our trials, we did trials, formal trials in Lilongwe at Chiteze, we did trials at Chitala, and we did trials in Vumbwe. So it shows the plant could grow well. There are no significant differences in terms of vegetative performance of the plant. There were no significant differences in terms of the sizes of the stalks, no significant differences in terms of the yield. So that is why the government said, yeah, maybe let's explore this crop as a cash crop or as a complement to existing agricultural crops. The question about the license fees, I cannot comment authoritatively because I'm not the regulator. So the Cannabis Regulatory Authority is the sole institution that has the mandate to regulate cannabis for various uses. So those are the ones that are putting in place the license fees. Are we complaining about the high fees ourselves? Yes. We are complaining about it because, for instance, no smallholder farmer can make money out of industrial hemp grown for grain after paying a 2 million kwacha license per year. Nobody would make money out of that. Who can possibly make money out of that? Maybe a commercial farmer with 1,000 hectares, because the license doesn't depend on hectares cultivated. So maybe a commercial farmer with more than 1 hectare, yes, probably can make money out of it because economies of scale can play, and also they would have better yields than smallholder farmers. So Yeah, that's the challenge indeed. So my colleague from Defense Force was asking what are the license fees like for medicinal and industrial? Medicinal license, it's about $10,000 plus other fees that you do to get the documents notarized and an application fee of on it. So it will be $10,000 plus these little add-ons that will be there. Industrial hemp is about $2,000. So that is it. Somebody asked about whether those doing research on cannabis need a license. Technically, yes, that's what the law says. So if you are doing it without a license, the authority or the law enforcers will pounce on you because you are doing something that you have not been authorized by the regulator. I'm not speaking on behalf of the regulator, though, let me make it clear, but I'm just giving my own understanding because we were in the same situation. Much as we were ready to produce the products before the regulatory authority was there, we could not because we didn't have the authority to do commercial production. So I guess it's the same situation that would apply here. What would Invegrow do to help budding entrepreneurs? Maybe the solution will not be found here. Those entrepreneurs that are willing, they should seek and they will find Invegrow where it is, at invegrow.com, and let's start the discussion from there. But in terms of maybe proving the concept of whether you can indeed do it, link up with the AQUAFISH. Maybe you can identify a site over here whether we can produce industrial hemp which we can expel and test more, do more testing and analysis on fish. Yeah, so that opportunity is there. They are already here. So find them and see whether they can be useful in terms of initiating the cultivation of industrial hemp around here for use by fish, and maybe for the oil, you guys being students and the college, you can find a cost-sharing arrangement in terms of how you cost-share the proceeds of that aspect, but it's doable. So if the college wants to work with you guys and pilot something, do it. I would even think that with the malnutrition problem, maybe just adopt one primary school from Early Child Development Center, do a proper research paper that tracks the development of these children from Early Child Development Center up to the point they get past standard 8, and see what happens, those that are fed on cannabis foods and those that are not fed on cannabis food. How intelligent is it? How intelligent will this be, the ones that are fed on cannabis? It would be something very good for the academia around here and the farming and also the nutrition component. So the opportunities are there for you to prove the concept at research, at institutional research level, at young entrepreneurial level, as well as now once you graduate out of this place into your own entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Especially, it's good that that question one member asked that as Rwanda as an institution, can we conduct research? Do we need clearance? So the direct answer is the collaboration and cooperation that Rwanda has with Evergrow. It means we can do it, okay, using Evergrow's license. That's what it means. And then Evergrow may have interest to say, please, your research focus on this, so that it has to be beneficial, both us as Rwanda and also Evergrow trying to answer some of the issues that would be answered through research. So we may not need to apply our own license, but through the collaboration that we have. Yeah, I know we may have many follow-up questions, but allow also to read some questions that are coming online. The first one is that from your explanation, you have a lot of products, but some members are feeling uncomfortable that Ministry of Trade is not putting your product on the export list. So they want to find out why. You have shown us so many products, and these are export quality. You are also even working on the international certifications. So why is Ministry of Trade not recognizing your products and put them on the list of exportable products? And also another member says you have more than 20 greenhouses or 23 greenhouses, but your production is only around 7 tons per year. Maybe you may need to comment on these statistics. The other one is very not clear. It's like, how are you going to help, since primary products are cheaper than final products in the value chain? When he was following your presentation, his analysis, or her analysis, I'm not sure whether he or her, is that it looks like the final products are cheaper than the primary products. Maybe you may need to comment more. These are just 3 questions. Maybe to allow him coming forth and back and forth, maybe we may add final round. Those that may have follow-up questions, the first responses, and those that may have new substantive questions, so that when he stands up, he can comprehensively handle the entire list. Any additions? Yes, there's one from that gentleman. There are 2 distinguished gentlemen, one in red and the neighbor. But he has already clarified on the license issue that we are targeting the wrong institution for the license issue. The license issue is our own. We need to, pressure our Malawi government, our legislative system to consider revising the act. And also, all public documents in Malawi are also available in the public domain. You may have special interest to download the Cannabis Act so that we study it and we see, or even our research, we may be targeting issues that can actually inform revision of that act. Let us access the act and see, because as he said, that is also regulated by the same act. They are feeling the pain also, paying $10,000 for medicinal industrial and $2,000 for medicinal plus other costs. So please go ahead with your questions.
My first question is on the varieties of the hemp to be cultivated. You mentioned 2, specific 2 uses, which was firstly you said industrial hemp and medicinal hemp. So I would like to ask you, what use does Malawian variety of hemp really has, or maybe it doesn't fit in any of those categories? And I would like to know the durations of the licenses for growing hemp, the 10,000 one and the 2,000 one. For how long they stand? Is it just a yearly thing, or you have to renew the licenses every year?
Mm-hmm. And pass the mic to your neighbor. He had a hand also.
Okay, I'm given Piri. I have 2 questions. The first one is, we have seen government support in various value chains, including tobacco, soy. But we haven't seen much of government commitment in terms of the cannabis value chain. I'm saying this because it's been almost 4 years now since Parliament passed a law. From the presenter, we haven't seen any tangible market opportunities. If anything, he highlighted the challenges that you are facing. So in other words, I would want to understand government support in terms of the cannabis, which raises questions to say, is there hope for this industry? Because from the presentation, it looks you haven't really stuck a market where you are able to export until now. Thank you.
There was also a hand somewhere there, yes?
I'm Julius Rosa. I'll just highlight what he has said in the marketing. On pricing, let's say I'm a smallholder farmer and I've produced that cannabis you have said. How much is it being sold? Because we have seen the presentation and the prices that you presented, it was on international markets. How much is being sold on the local prices like in Quachas in Malawi, so that maybe people can calculate on how they can gain profit from it?
And the last one?
Okay, my question is on the marketing. You said that the way things are in terms of the costs, it's not very possible that a farmer just selling the raw cannabis can make a profit. And I also remember it was last year, the president of Cannabis Association of Malawi highlighted that Malawi, as of now, is not ready to process the cannabis into final products. But my question is, you as EnvGrow, you do produce these products from cannabis. Do you also buy the cannabis from the farmers who have started growing, or you just produce from your own cannabis? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't see any more hand, and we may assume that this is the last round of questions. And sir, if allow me to summarize, but I saw you also taking notes, but okay. But just to make sure that what we have captured is correct, first is the variety of cannabis, and also where does our Malawian hemp feature within these varieties. Of course, in the presentation indicated that Malawi wanted cannabis that has very low HTC. So it may be possible that our cannabis, the local one, the indigenous one, may have high HTC, higher than permissible maybe in the act, but we'll hear from the expert. And then the other one was on market opportunities, both international and local. The claim is that they didn't see the markets, but I saw in one of your slides, you put more than 80 countries interested to buy these products, and you may want to repeat. And in terms of pricing, is there any hope for local market? And sir, when we talk of markets, actually our dream, okay, would be like, because this is a tobacco, I'm not sure whether it's also tobacco, cannabis is equivalent to tobacco, but the tobacco has a very good market, the auction floors. You may not need to have those costs you were talking about in Qatar, because the buyers actually come right here in Malawi and purchase in dollars, okay? And when we talk of markets, since you are the pioneer, the champions of this, is it not possible to be pushing Malawi government to create a market similar to the auction floors for tobacco, so that farmers just bring their products there and then international buyers come in. And the last one was on processing. There is a perception that Malawi is not yet ready for processing, but yet you have brought in so many processed products. So the audience may need more clarification on this. Yeah, over to you, sir.
Thank you, colleagues, for your questions. Those that are connected virtually and also those that are in this room. Starting with the question that was raised about why our products are not featuring on the list of products that are mentioned or attached to the Ministry of Industry and Trade, maybe the issue should not be looked at that way. But what I do know is that cannabis is one of the priority value chains in the export strategy too. So it's just a matter of time that when we have products readily available, they will indeed follow the normal course. At the moment, I didn't want to get into the details of having these products even on the domestic market, let alone the regional market. We have the products. We have gone a long way to get them into the packaging that would appeal at all levels. But more importantly, even the product certifications, we've had to do the analysis in Europe, in South Africa, just to make sure that there is no scapegoat about poor quality of our products. So they are food quality products ascertained and validated by third-party labs, accredited labs in Europe and here. But there were just implementation and teething problems in the domestic market. Because it is cannabis, those that stock these food products said they cannot stock them because they don't see a business case to stocking cannabis by paying the license fees for distributors or sellers. So we had to go back to the regulator to discuss with them to give some exemptions in the early stages of the development, that maybe certain companies that sell foods items can be given an exemption so that we can demonstrate that indeed these products are consumer ready in our domestic market. So that was one challenge. And then there were those products that we wanted to be stocked into the pharmaceutical shops. Those are regulated by a different regulator. So they asked us a question to say, oh, we are not regulated by CRA, we are regulated by the other regulator. How will our regulator see us if we are selling cannabis products and we are supposed to be selling medicines? But that was not the truth. They are selling soaps which are not medicines. But it was just that teething problem. So we again pushed it to the two regulators to talk about it so that they can smoothen the way for availability and accessibility of our products on the markets. There was a question about the greenhouses, and somebody was worried about 7 tons of dried flower from 23 greenhouses, which occupy a space of just over 600,000 square meters. when you're talking about dried flour, the 7 tons you have to multiply by maybe 90 to get the wet tonnage. So it's not a small volume, it's huge volume on that space of land, which is just under a hectare or just over half of a hectare. It's huge. And the only reason we are reaching 7 tons is that there's only a lag of the first 3 months for you to harvest the first crop. Otherwise, the production is continuous, unless it is paused for one reason or the other. There was an issue about cheap primary products being cheaper than processed products. Yeah, that's normally what happens because of the value addition costs. So that is why when you are selling tobacco, whether it's $2 a kilo, once you get a cigarette, I think if you had to put those cigarettes into a kilo, I'm sure you know what the price is. And that is why when they buy soya at 800, 1 liter of cooking oil will be maybe in the region of 600, 7,000 because of the value addition. So there is nothing unusual about it. So that is why we want to encourage processing and value addition at all stages of the value chain so that more value added can be happening at various stages locally instead of exporting the item. There was a question about where does the Malawi varieties stand, because we were only doing the trials and also we did not do any trials on the Malawi varieties. It was by design. The government didn't want to touch that because our terms of reference was to limit to the low THC for use in industrial applications. But by the time we had done our research and evaluations of the low THC varieties, some group came in and the law incorporated even the medicinal use. So since the local varieties are a product of the people of Malawi and the Malawi government, we await the direction of the Malawi government on how they want to handle the trials and research around the local land races. But since we have both medicinal and the industrial license, we know most of the local land races will have THC around 15 to 20%. So that much we know. From which side of the country, we won't tell you. But we know the local land races will have THC between 15 to 20%. So the equivalent of wine. So it's not high, super high, as people look at it. Maybe it tastes better or it smells better. That is another advantage. But it's not super high like the varieties that are out there for high THC. Some of them are as high as 30% or thereabouts. So it's not super high, our local THC. The license fees as of now, according to the regulations, are renewed annually. So the $10,000 is 1 year for medicinal. $2,000 for 1 year for industrial. But we are trying to lobby with the regulator and government that they should scrap the license for the growing industrial hemp just as an agricultural crop. It doesn't make sense. You don't promote agricultural diversification that way. So I hope they will be listening. I hope they will take action sooner rather than later. Our plea and prayer to them was that they should do it before June, so that as people are planning for next year, then they will have a better information in terms of what to do and what not to do. There was an issue about government not supporting cannabis. Well, the journey started. sometimes things in government don't happen as quickly as we envisage, but the journey started. The law was passed. The regulatory authority was established and funded. The board of the regulatory authority was appointed. So to me, I thought those are critical steps. If you sniffed information even around our neighbors, Zimbabwe, Zambia, they have been foot dragging quite a lot. Even in South Africa, where they started trials maybe 30 years ago, there are still teething problems about the regulation of all this cannabis. So it's not an easy crop to get public support and agreement and understanding and do things easily. There's always suspicion, there's always caution and cautiousness around it. But I think now that they have come to the point of placing it as a strategic crop, I think you can be assured that the support is there. And then there was the issue about what was expressed by one of the off-takers, that there is no capacity to process cannabis in Malawi. Maybe that was said within context. Why I'm saying within context is that when you are looking at processing cannabis flowers for medicinal use or as medicine, you require a certain certification of the processing facility. So you cannot just process it like in our facility to say, yeah, we are processing medicine there. No, that facility has to be processed, to be assessed as a high-end processing facility for medicine. Maybe that is what she was referring to, but I don't know what was the context. But in terms of processing it for basic foods, basic lotions, I think we have shown it to you that it's possible and it's doable to do it here. And we are doing it. And we will be doing it. And we will be expanding it. If it comes to the point that we need a GMP certified for Europe and America, we'll do it. But it requires more investment of a specific unit that actually meets all the certification requirements of the certification bodies from Europe or from USA. There was an issue about whether Invegro would buy the products or would buy the produce from the farmers. The way licensing of cannabis works is that whoever wants to cultivate cannabis must provide proof to the regulator that they have an off-taker to buy their produce. So it's not a crop that you can decide I want to grow and I'll find the market later. No. So for Invegro, like the hard seed that you tested, it was grown by our producer cooperatives that we subcontracted as our outgrowers. Because on our facility, we cannot grow both grain and flowers because the flowers would contaminate, the grain crop would contaminate our flowers. So we don't want any flowers from the males to cross-pollinate the flowers that we are targeting to extract various products out of those flowers. So we used outgrowers, our producer groups, which were close. We wanted to test the business model. One, how does it feel to work with these producer groups? What challenges do they face? What information and support do they need? So all those lessons learned, we have shared them with the government and the regulator, but more importantly, we're utilizing them to leverage on our future collaborations with producer groups. On the prices of the local prices, I think the items that we have shown you are probably middle to high-end pricing. but we'll find a way of converting those into budget prices, just like some of these products that you see, for instance, automobile lubes. If you want them packaged in small, nice packs, you get them at 5,000 or 7,000, kwacha, half a liter. But the same one, if you go to Malangalanga or Biwi Triangle, the same motor lube, you get it at 4,000 a liter, not half a liter. So we will find a way of making sure that our pricing and our packaging and our delivery points are altered to suit the budget consumers. I guess I have touched upon more of those. Then there was an additional question. Does Invegro have a market for unprocessed cannabis from farmers without capacity to process? Is this toll processing or is this buying? If it is toll processing, we may have to look at it because we didn't configure our facility as a toll processor that somebody can bring their items, you process them and then give them back whatever they brought to you. But if the question was meant, can Invegro buy the flower that is lying around with the producer groups that were duped by some off-taker? The answer would be no, for the simple reason that our markets will look for traceability, documentation, and information and records. And that record will not be able to vouch for. So we want to know whether the soils were analyzed. We want to know how they handled the crop. We want to know what they applied to the crops. We want to know whether the people were washing hands or not, their sanitation, health. We want to know whether sick people were handling the crop, etc. So we can't vouch for quality and traceability of the product. That would be the simple reason that we would not offtake them. But if we were a charitable organization would do it, but this one we are doing it because if we send it to the buyers, they would reject because there is no trail of that documentation. Whereas whatever we do ourselves or with some groups that we have, we engage in documentation trail at the early stage from seed to table and tracing it back to where the product came from. I guess I have answered those questions, colleagues. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we give him a very big round of applause? Thank you so much. And the expert through AQUAFISH can still be accessed. And if you still have issues, go through AQUAFISH and then they can link you up with Evergrow or with the expert himself for more collaboration and for more clarifications. At this point, allow me to invite the AQUAFISH director to give some closing remarks. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, everyone. I'm not the director, but I'm speaking on behalf of the director. My name is Yamika Ngongonda, and I am the project officer for AQUAFISH Center here at Luwana. My first words would be to thank our keynote speaker, Nerbert Nyirenda, who has given us an eye-opening presentation And like our moderator said, maybe we need to once again clap hands for him. And special thanks as well to Dr. Skawa, who is, apart from being our moderator today, he is also the Dean for the Faculty of Natural Resources here at Luana. Thank you for your insights as we went through this presentation. I would like to add in brief to say that AQUAFISH Center is dedicated as part of the institution here at Luana to ensure that we are producing staff or students as well as players in the industry that are able to articulate issues to do with cannabis. As we continue to implement activities under the center, one of the biggest areas that we have looked into is to ensure that we have an integrated agriculture, aquaculture arrangement through the IAA systems. And what has actually prompted us to work with Invegrow is because Invegrow is one of the lobby organizations that have given us a chance to look at the potential of cannabis in terms of medicinal properties that can support the aquaculture industry as well as the general population. But also, we have issues in terms of fish feed. All those areas are to be researched into. And that's why we are very, very thankful that you came, all of you today, to witness this one, because I think out of the many questions that we've been asking, research questions can be drawn. As Rwanda, we are dedicated to teaching, but more importantly, to research. And out of that research, we hope to create innovations, and out of those innovations, maybe incubate some businesses that would help us as a nation to grow as an economy. The many questions that you have are potential research ideas that you can bring forward. And as the center, we are enrolling students in our new setup. We are in 4 departments. The first department is aquaculture itself, which is the host department. But we're also into crop sciences. We are also into animal science, as well as food science. So in those areas, all that has been presented today creates opportunities for all of us to think about what we need to research on. And as we say, we are being backed by Invegrow, who are a step ahead. And that's why we had an arrangement that we have with this seminar, so that we create as many ideas, debunk so many myths that we may have, so that we move on and proceed with the potential that is in cannabis, beyond benefiting the nation, but definitely with our own interest to ensure that we have fish feed as well as medicines that can support the growth of the industry. And as others have said, make sure that the value chains for both cannabis as well as fish are well fortified. So I would like to thank you, Mr. Nerbert Nyirenda, once again, for a good presentation. We have had great insights. We hope to do more research. And for those who are capable, they can now venture into businesses or create business ideas. And in whatever arrangement, it would be bad not to mention Mr. Nelemba, who is here, is also a partner to AQUAFISH, but he is the one who's working with what is called the aquaponic systems, and would want to explore what arrangements we can create within cannabis and the aquaponics. So you see, there is so much that we can do in this area. Once again, thank you all. We, as AQUAFISH, we hope we'll keep interacting. And for the departments that I mentioned, there are so many programs that you can apply to study and make sure that you have a hands-on experience working with cannabis and fish and integrated systems in general. Thank you very much.
But sir, did you demonstrate how to test? Maybe some of the products may require no need, eh? The youth of today are very innovative, so they But sir, would you have anything which is close to whiskey? No.
No, I deliberated everything that is high
Good. Do we close with a prayer or no need now? Since we opened with a prayer, may we ask the one who opened this session with a prayer to kindly also close officially the session with a prayer. And then after that, we'll go full throttle into testing the products. Thank you so much.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you this afternoon. As we prayed earlier, we ask that you guide us through the process, and that has been done. We've learned a lot. We hope that we will make use of the knowledge that has been gathered here to be more productive to our nation, but more importantly for people here at Luana to be more research focused so that we have more ideas and we contribute effectively to the development of our nation. We thank you for the presenters. We thank you for the participants who came today. We thank you for those who were on Zoom and Facebook following these proceedings. Father, as we go back, we pray for your traveling mercies. Guide us until we're safely home. In the name of Christ Jesus, I pray. Amen.